A 5-minute call, Marama Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to recognise the Speaker of the House who, after receiving the letter from the Leader of the Opposition, thought it important enough that we follow that letter and have an urgent debate. There is an issue here, and the issue of overspending, we could say, ensures that we don't get to spend in the areas of most need, where rates for Māori in health and all of the outcomes are poorly represented. We could go on to say that should they have put money into bricks and mortar or put the money into asthma rates for children, for Māori, COPD rates for Māori women, the worst in the world. We can carry on having that debate forever. There is a lot of things that this government could have spent, or the ministry could have spent that money on. Notwithstanding, they need a building to go into. So that's beside the point. The point of this is they did not have the money that they said they did. And we've heard from Annette King explain the details of that. I thought it was serious enough, and the Speaker of the House thought it was serious enough that we should address the issue. And yet I waited to hear the explanation, and I didn't hear it. It was not forthcoming. And so I do go back to those statistics, because for me they're quite concerning. We are overrepresented in too many areas as Māori in this country, as Pacifica in this country, and they need to be addressed. Just this year I was approached by an asthma group training the trainer for Māori asthma providers in this country who'd had their contract ended for no apparent reason. No reason given to them. They'd met all of the outcomes that had been asked of them by the Ministry of Health, and yet here we have some of the highest rates of asthma for Māori in this country and in the world, and yet the only one Māori health provider that provided training for trainers for asthma prevention, their contract was discontinued. Hauora groups across the country have expressed concern that funding for Māori health is continuing to dwindle. And I have put those questions to the Minister and to the Ministry of Health, and have not yet been satisfied with the answers that have been provided. Māori adults are 3 times as likely as non-Māori adults to smoke.
Order. I'm slightly reluctant to interrupt the member, but I did listen carefully to the rulings that the Speaker previously and the Chair gave as to the narrowness of this debate and the importance of relating matters to the. It's not a general health debate, it's not a health estimates debate, it's on a relatively narrow issue. Maybe the flow-on from that might be something the member could discuss, but she's got to at least occasionally get back to the issue. Marama Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I listened intently to a number of the issues that were raised in the House, and I felt that they were quite wide and therefore gave me some leniency here, but I take your direction. And the point comes back to the fact that $24 million has been overspent, misspent, and not calculated for correctly, and has been presented, some might say fraudulently, to the Select Committee. And yet we continue to have these disparities. It's a borderline issue, but I'm waiting to hear the response. I'm waiting to hear how that mistake happened and then doesn't get reported back. I'm waiting to hear from our Minister how we can continue to address these issues of disparities and not have those mistakes happen again. I've not been satisfied that I've heard those things. I have heard from the Associate Minister of Health that the spending on health has gone up, that we cannot make those comparisons, that this may not have made much difference, that we have less workers overall in the health sector, in the bureaucracy of the health sector, and yet we continue to have this mistake raised in front of us, and we continue to have the disparity of health statistics for our people. And I do push the boundary of this discussion to mention that, because the reasons that have been given by the Minister and the Associate Minister of expanding health spending to address those issues are clearly not evident when you look at the statistics for Māori health, for Pacifica health in this country. And so I appreciate the leniency that the Speaker has given me today. I would be interested to hear that these issues are being addressed. I'll be interested to see next year, again, when it gets that far, that they come to the Select Committee and present their findings to show that processes have been put in place to eliminate this happening again.